Hello children, now we move on to the third module of the lesson, quality. In the first two modules, we saw how the author talks about a shoemaker named Mr. Jessler. Mr. Jessler had a very typical way of talking. He talked English with German accent. He was a dedicated shoemaker, and the boots made by him were one of the best in London, you can say. Mr. Jessler was a very quiet man, a very simple man. He didn't talk too much, and only once author offended him by saying that the last pair of shoes which he had made creaked. Then once when Mr. Jessler saw the author with shoes which were brought from a different shop, he said that it was not a shoe made by him, and the big firms had no self-respect. And after many days, when Mr. Jessler met the author again, he told him that he lost his elder brother. Even Mr. Jessler was looking very old. The author really felt sad for him. Mr. Jessler said that his elder brother was also a very good shoemaker. Then he showed the author a beautiful piece of leather, and the talk continued. Now let's see what happened next. Page number 76, children. I ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but they were better than ever. One simply could not wear them out, and soon after that I went abroad. So when the author heard about Mr. Jessler's life, how he lost his elder brother, and the struggle he had in his profession, he ordered many pairs. The word several means many pairs. The author really felt very sad for the shoemaker. But the shoes which he had ordered, they took a long time to come. This sentence means that Mr. Jessler had really become too weak to do all the work. For him, quality was something which he had to give importance to, isn't it? But at last, when the shoes which came, they were the best what he had got till date. They were so good that they lasted longer than any ordinary boots. Soon after the author received the boots, he went abroad. Now, the next paragraph. It was over a year before I was again in London, and the first shop I went to was my old friend's. I had left a man of 60. I came back to one of 75, pinched and worn, who genuinely this time did not at first know me. Do you want any boots? He said. I can make them quickly. It is a slack dime. I answered, please, please, I want boots all around, every kind. The sentence, do you want any boots, means, do you want any boots? I can make them quickly. It is a slack dime means, I can make them quickly. It is a slack time. The words pinched and worn means to look very thin and pale, to have a sickly look, children, to suddenly become old, pale, like that. And the word slag means actually slack time. Slack time refers to a break time or a time to relax, a free time you can say. So I told you, after he ordered for many pairs of shoes, many pairs of boots, he went abroad, isn't it? And when this author came back, it was almost after a year, you can say. And the first shop which he went was that of Mr. Jessler's. He called him as his old friend. But when the author went to that shop, he was shocked. because he had left a man of almost 60 years, and when he came back, he saw one of 75 years. In only 1 year, this man looked as if he has grown 15 years old. From 60 years, he looked like a man of 75 years. He looked tired, thin, pale, and very old. And he really did not recognize this author. Pinched and worn means this man was very stressed out, children. He had suddenly grown old because of stress, too much of work he did. And the word genuinely means really. So he asked when he saw the author, Mr. Jessler asked, "Do you want any boots?" And he also said that he can make them very quickly because he has a lot of free time now. This word slack means, I told you, a break time, a relaxing time, sort of free time you can say. So he told the author that he had a lot of free time and he can make the shoes very quickly. The author might have felt really sad, isn't it? So he said, yes, you make boots of each kind for me. Now he had ordered many pairs of boots, isn't it? This Mr. Jessler had grown a bit old also. Naturally, it'll take some time to make those boots, isn't it? So Mr. Jessler was happy to get so much of orders and he started working. Now let's see what happens. I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one, I tried them on. In shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. I flew downstairs, wrote a check, and posted it at once with my own hand. So this order took a lot of time, children. Many pair of boots were there, isn't it? So the author had given up. He had given up hope of receiving those boots. But suddenly it arrived one day. One by one he tried to wear all the boots which he had received. In every aspect, in every shape, the fitting of the boots, the finishing of the boot, and the quality, the way he had made those boots, children, they were the best boots that shoemaker had made till date. The author was so happy. He ran down quickly, he went downstairs, and he wrote the check. He wanted to pay him. So he wrote the check very quickly. Now we move on to the next paragraph, children. A week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. I went in very much disturbed. In the shop, there was a young man with an English face. "Mr. Jessler in?" I said. "No, sir." He said. "No, but we can attend to anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over." Yes, I said. "But Mr. Jessler?" "Oh," he answered. "Dead." "Dead? But I only received these boots from him last Wednesday." So what happened, children? The author was very happy with those pair of boots, isn't it? So after 1 week, he was passing by a little street. So he thought he should go and tell Mr. Jessler how splendidly, the word splendidly means how beautifully, how wonderfully he had made the new boots. The author wanted to appreciate the man. felt like going to the shoemaker and praise his work. But when he reached the place where his shop was located, he saw that the shoemaker's name was not there. The author was disturbed. He was shocked. When he saw this, that the shoemaker's name was not there, he went into the shop. He was really worried what happened to this Mr. Jessler. And when he entered the shop, he found a young man, a young Englishman, instead of Mr. Jessler. The author was not ready to receive this Englishman. So he asked him, "Mr. Jessler in?" which means, "Is Mr. Jessler there?" And that young Englishman said, "No, sir, he is not here, but we can help you with anything." And they have taken over the shop. The author was not interested to talk to this Englishman. So he didn't pay much attention to what this young man was talking. And he asked that young man again, "But where is Mr. Jessler?" As he repeated the question, the young man understood that the author was interested to meet Mr. Jessler only. But what did he say? He said that, "Oh, Mr. Jessler, he is dead." The author was shocked. He just couldn't accept that, children. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. He told this man that it was not possible for this man to die because only last Wednesday he had received the boots. How can Mr. Jessler die so soon? He was shocked, very surprised to hear this news. Then let's see what this young man tells about Mr. Jessler. Page number 77, the next paragraph. "Ah," he said, "poor old man starved himself. Slow starvation, the doctor called it. You see, he went on to work in such a way, would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. When he got an order, it took him such a time. People won't wait. He lost everybody, and there he'd sit, going on and on. I will say that, for him, not a man in London made a better boot. But look at the competition. He never advertised. Would have the best leather too, and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? But starvation?" So now this young Englishman went on to explain what actually happened to Mr. Jessler. He said that Mr. Jessler had actually died of starvation, and that too slow starvation. That is what the doctor said. According to the doctors, the cause of his death was slow starvation, and it happened because the way he worked, children. He would just keep the shop on, and he continued to work non-stop. He wouldn't allow anybody else to touch his boots. He only worked himself because he wanted perfection. When he would get an order, he would take too much time to make and deliver them. And that's how Mr. Jessler started losing his customers. People don't have too much of patience, children, isn't it? If you order something, it should come fast. But Mr. Jessler, he took a long time because he wanted perfection in everything. But this shoemaker did not stop working. He strained too hard. He was overstressed. And the young Englishman also agreed that Mr. Jessler made the best boots in London. But he never advertised, children. How will one come to know that he is the best shoemaker? People need to know that. And for that, he has to advertise. He always used the best leather and did all the work himself. But then, what did he get? He never got anything in return. He only got poverty, and slowly, he lost all his customers. The author still could not understand how can Mr. Jessler die of starvation. He was such a perfect shoemaker. Let's see what happens next. The young man continues to say something about Mr. Jessler. What is that? Let's see. Now, the next paragraph. That might be a bit flowery, as the saying is, but I know myself he was sitting over his boots day and night, to the very last you see. I used to watch him. Never gave himself time to eat. Never had a penny in the house. All went in rent and leather. How he lived so long, I don't know. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots. Yes, I said, he made good boots. So this young man continued talking, and he said that the word a bit flowery means it may be a bit fancy, a bit over elaborated way of saying. But he said that this man overworked. He overstressed himself. Day and night he used to sit and work. And this young Englishman observed him. He observed Mr. Jessler's actions. Mr. Jessler never had enough time to eat. In fact, he never had enough money to buy food for himself. Whatever he earned, it went in rent and in leather also. He bought leather of very good quality. And according to that young man, it is very surprising to see how he survived for so long without proper food, without proper rest, and without money. The young man also said that Mr. Jessler was a man of unique character, but he made very good boots. That was only his positive point, no children. He made only good boots, but he never cared for himself. What is the use of earning money if you cannot take care of your health? But this man overstressed himself. He went on working and working, but the world did not know about his boots. Only those who had used it, like the author and the young Englishman who saw how he made the boots, they only knew about his boots, children. For the others to know, he should have advertised. The author was so shocked to hear his life. He never in his dreams thought that Mr. Jessler was suffering so much. So in the end, he also agreed that yes, he made good boots. So you see, children, this is actually a story of a man who was very sincere, very dedicated in his work. But then what did he get in the end, children? Nothing, isn't it? He died a very sad death, and that too because of starvation. Can you imagine? The best shoemaker in London had to die because of starvation. Whichever job you do, children, you should enjoy doing that. But why do we work? We work to make money. And what can we get with that money? We can get comfort, food, clothing, shelter, isn't it? If you cannot get food, clothing, and shelter with the money which you earn, then it is actually useless to earn money, isn't it? If you cannot live a proper life, if you cannot feed yourself, what is the use? So, this is actually a story which teaches us that we should take care of our health. Such a good shoemaker, a perfect artist he was, isn't it? A very skillful man he was. But then he died a very pathetic death, children. The author was really sad. He actually had come that day to tell this shoemaker that his shoes were very beautiful. He wanted to encourage him, to thank him. He wanted to praise him. But then he couldn't do that. So now I come to the end of the third module, children. Thank you.